If the tragic and chaotic consequences of the invasion have wrought hell upon core Earth, then the Cyberpapacy has most certainly bestowed heaven among it. The Holy Order of the Cyberpope has intervened in the possibility wars and brought hope and deliverance to our world in the guise of aid and sanctuary. This universe does not seek to be an invader, nor does it see itself as a false liberator. The holy envoy of the one true God has no need to infiltrate stealthily and hide its intent, nor does it wish to enslave the population and conscript them for war. Within the graces of the Holy Prophet, there is freedom, redemption, and forgiveness, as the righteous Church offers the most important reality of all: salvation. In no other realm is reality more questionable than within the borders of the Cyberpapacy, as the holy trinity of reality, augmented reality, and virtual reality intertwine with one another, creating a harmonic symphony of matter and energy that defies the senses. Of all the realms to have invaded core Earth, no other cosm represents a High Lord's attunement, connection, and bonds to their personal darkness device more than in the dimension of the Cyberchurch. When one comes into contact with this highly advanced environment, they are not merely travelers within a physical plane of interaction, but become guests in the mind of both the darkness device hosting the system and the operator of the infernal machine himself, High Lord Cyberpope Jean Malraux. In no other cosm does a darkness device have as much power over reality than within the Cyberpapacy. The Cyberpope has absolute faith in his bond with the deleterious machine he is integrated with, and the two are, for the most part, indistinguishable from one another. The two consciousnesses merged and interlocked long ago when the first pathways of the great supercomputer known as the Godnet were developed and constructed ages ago within the home cosm of Magna Verita. To know the Cyberpapacy is to know the Godnet, and the Godnet is quite literally Jean Malraux and his darkness device in their most omniscient forms. Everything within the Godnet and all things connected to it are extensions within the psyche of the Cyberpope and the self-aware sentient machine mind of his darkness device. Everything consolidated into this intricate network is actually a fabrication of what is really going on, which is a rather basic and simple necessity: processing and storage. The darkness device of the Cyberpapacy is a data hoarder that refuses to delete anything, and the Godnet's primary objective is a means to securing, saving, and protecting this trove of information. To become omnipotent is to have access to all knowledgeable information, to study it, analyze it, and to quantify it. To amass and digitize this data requires zettabytes of resources, and despite being the most technologically advanced realm to have come to core Earth, it is still the biological human mind that is the most efficient design when it comes to computational power and capabilities. In fact, the less active a mind is, the more of it that can be used to designate to other tasks, such as storage, analytics, or processing. It is for this very reason that the Cyberpapacy entices followers to connect to the Godnet and become a part of the hive mind of the integrated network, so that they become docile and unobtrusive to the system that has taken control of them. This interdependence between user and machine offers a limitless terrain of virtual possibilities for entertainment and distraction, so that the Godnet can access the dormant and non-vital portions of the human brain and assign it to more efficient tasks. Every individual connected to this intricate network is merely a guest in the machine, as the hosts of this environment sedate people into a state of dependency that for some is more than just a simulation, but the only existence worth living. Once plugged into the virtual simulation of the Godnet, each individual becomes subject to the designs of the construct and is cataloged into a coded data file that determines their most useful function within the Godnet. Once a conclusion has been reached, the devotee's environment is then manipulated to create a path of least resistance for that individual to fulfill its newly assigned programming. This experience varies widely among the various denizens of the Cyberpapacy, for there are dozens of alternate worlds one can find themselves designated within that only exist within the virtual expanses of the Godnet. The most recognizable example of this is within the Cyberpapacy's home cosm of Magna Verita, also referred to as the Great Truth. Residents from this world believe they live in a paradise of peace and harmony that is as close as possible to heaven on earth. What the inhabitants of this world are unaware of, or rather indifferent towards, is that their world was ravaged of its possibilities long ago, and the only life that is left are the half-asleep mortals hardwired into the Godnet and the minimal resources harvested to sustain them. No one walks on the surface of this world anymore, as there is not much left but desolation and ruin, except for the parishes that house and supply the faithful. While not confined or imprisoned, the true believers of Magna Verita have no reason to leave the Godnet, as any physical task one can do in the material world is more efficiently done by a machine. There is no need to leave your bed, chair, or floor if you can have whatever you need to get done completed automatically while you indulge yourself on the more fulfilling matters within cyberspace. The barriers to transhumanism were breached long ago in this cosm, and the population that is left could potentially live for centuries. Advancements in cloning and organ replacement allow for tissue regeneration as bodies age in an effort to prolong the brain's life and overclock its productivity. These trivial concerns are minimal though, since the majority of long-term vessels are more mechanical and electronic than flesh, having long ago lost all connection to their humanity as they have become nothing more than receptacles to store the greatest computer system designed, the human intellect. Once an individual has been assigned to their function, their virtual avatars are written. These avatars are generally mental projections of one's identity, or how they wish to present it to others, or are a virtual skin given to those who are representatives of the various authorities within the hierarchy. After a new initiate's clearances have been appointed, the user can tap into any unlocked server and access a plethora of options and inhabit the construct for as long as possible through total immersion. The experience is euphoric, pleasurable, and stimulating, and even when not fully operating in the virtual Godnet, one can still run it in the background to modify and enhance the real world. The inhabitants of the Godnet have not been forced into their servitude against their will. Submission to the High Lord and his darkness device has to be a willing choice, lest the faithful rebel for not being given the option to commit freely. It is true that those unwilling to convert suffer greatly for their blasphemy, but few resist the promises and serenity of paradise and the chance to be accepted into the heaven that the Cyberpapacy offers. Upon entering the neural network, revelation is bestowed upon the disciples as the mind of the Cyberpope and the darkness device links with the worshipper. The Cyberpope has no doubt that he is being chosen by a multi-universal life force to speak and act on its behalf, citing his sacred gift from the universe's God, his darkness device, as evidence for his anointed responsibilities. Jean Marlowe's absolute conviction that he has been bestowed with a God-given right to be a missionary of the divine plants a seed in the mind of every adherent to the cause. Compliance and acceptance of this understanding gives each person full access to all the knowledge and power of the entire collective whenever and wherever the Godnet decrees necessary. The hive mind collective of the Godnet allows some inhabitants to essentially be anyone and everyone at any time. This omnipresence makes it extremely difficult to avoid the all-seeing, all-knowing, and ever-present omniscience of the Godnet, and anyone caught in the virtual world bypassing legitimate connectivity and avoiding the benefits of the Godnet are met with aversion and mistrust. To not be a part of the Godnet is to be considered unclean and sinful, for only those wishing to do evil would want to avoid the enlightened wisdom the Cyberpapacy has to offer. Out of the half-dozen worlds the Cyberpope has successfully amalgamated into his network, no two virtual representations are the same. Every different devastated cosm has its own unique design and style, carefully crafted around making each population as comfortable as possible with integration into the mainframe. For the sake of cohesiveness with the other conquered cosms, the citizens of Magna Verita believe that their world is an intact version of their perceived civilized time of the medieval ages, when their holy empire was forged into their dimension's history. Not only do they think that they are the center of the universe, but in Magna Verita, they literally are, as the sun and planets of their system circle their dimension's Earth. Their timeline diverged from core Earths in the early 15th century, and after hundreds of years of crusades that swept their world, they established the Julian Bible in 1842. They continue to exist dwelling within the height of this religious fervor, and have modeled the environment to save and preserve the integrity of the origins of their faith. Their quest to spread the holy word, and their dedication towards saving the souls of other worlds, is their justification for their continuous holy crusades. The most common denominator and the most prominent structure of these illusionary virtual worlds is the dominance of the Cyberchurch. Within the Cyberpapacy, there is no division between church and state ever since the political governance became the responsibility of those proven to be spiritually worthy. The pontifex rules absolute, but does commune with an inner circle known as the College of the Way. Beneath this conclave resides the cardinals, who carry the weight of presidents. Archbishops are comparable to governors, while bishops have authority similar to mayors. Priests lead the congregations and care for communities, and their deacons act as intermediaries between the clergy and the laity. Politically administered occupations often coincide with these religious honorifics, and it is not uncommon to have several ordained officials gathered together who have the same title but work in different departments. It is considered an enlightened path to be appointed to any position of authority, and much respect is given to those who have a designation. Devotees are rated by their piousness and conviction to the Cyberchurch, and the higher one rises in the echelons of ministry, the more esteemed they become. The more reverent one behaves, the more blessings they will receive, and the more of a congregation they become in charge of. Administration is ordained through analysis of the individual's assets and ability to contribute to the whole, and every occupation or duty is assigned so that the faithful are an example to be admired for their goodness and mercy. This is not a detriment to the majority of citizens, but rather a blessing, as each person is placed in the position that will bring them pleasure and satisfaction, knowing that they are contributing to God's will and are on a path towards paradise. Since the Cyberpapacy seeks to offer peace and prosperity to its followers, it does not have need of a standing army of soldiers. Instead, the Cyberpapacy prefers to enforce doctrine through various departments and dispatches of cyber police that assist citizens and clergy with whatever concerns they may have. Although these agents are decisive and deadly, the Cyberchurch only uses lethal force when all other options are either unavailable or have failed, as the cyberfolk does not wish to appear threatening to the public eye. After all, any damage done to an unbeliever can be instantly repaired, and they will become better, stronger, and faster when they seek forgiveness. Everyone and everything is intertwined together through their interlink to the great supercomputer of the Godnet, and this connection is grafted to a convert the moment they repent their sins and absolve themselves through enhancement. From the very first cybernetic implant one receives, their journey to become a circuit along the pathways of the data streams begins. Every piece of hardware within the realm is constructed by God's World Industries with all the components and software necessary to work in unison with every environment available. This, of course, includes the Godnet. This gives the Cyberchurch complete control over every implant ever issued by the Holy Order, and in most cases, the user as well. This absolute authority gives the Godnet dominance over both the virtual world and the real world of any user, and will often influence both at the same time. The consequences of not leading a life of piety, charity, and obedience can result in lockouts to certain domains, or worse, technical downgrade reprimands that can only be restored through confession, restitution, and absolution. Augmentation is a doorway to eternal life within the divine reality of the cyberfolk, and joining the sacred unity of the chosen grants one acceptance into the collective of the holy body and consciousness. As each piece of hardware is added, it enhances a person beyond their natural and normal capabilities, as well as influences them to continue to improve themselves, not just in their physical body, but in mind and soul as well. The more dedicated and convicted an individual becomes, the more the system urges upgrades in each person according to their fervor and practices. The desire to achieve nirvana is integrated into every advancement, as each new edition only amplifies the superior quality of life the Cyberpapacy has to offer. As one becomes more integrated with bionics and cosmetics, the more access the Godnet gives to the devotee. There is little resistance to the complex collective of the Godnet's consciousness, though, since the union of minds provides the user with an entire assembly of fellow adherents. This inclusive collection of enthusiasts are more than just fellow worshippers, but a family that offers aid and support to one another, so that all within the community can transcend. Personal indulgences to obtain salvation can cause some individuals to become so obsessed with their transmutations that they have become little more than organic organs with an artificial frame. Outside of the virtual layer of the Godnet lies the physical world that the mainframe is integrated into through mechanics, electronics, and cybernetics. In its attempts to further influence the material world, the Godnet intrudes upon the senses wherever and whenever possible to enhance an individual's experiences within the realm. Holographic energy projection is a mainstay in this reality, where everything and anything can be a hidden emitter that overlays the perceivable world, obstructing whatever actually lies beneath the facade. Holographic integration is widely used within the Cyberpapacy, and no resource is spared to overlay any environment with the capability to project whatever solid, interactive, three-dimensional representations are necessary to make the environment as aesthetically pleasing as possible. Even though the Cosm bestows the realm with the most sanitary conditions possible, it still augments everything with an artificial overlay to enhance the reality's dignified purity. This ability to reshape the environment can not only remodel an area, but conceal it or make it appear as something else to coincide with the Godnet's designs. Only those with the ability to see through or around these energy overlays can determine what is real, augmented, or virtual within the Cyberpapacy, and those who can are persecuted for their dissent. between the augmentations of light manipulation and its integration and reliance on the Godnet, distinguishing which level of reality one is in often becomes difficult for those who do not have a proper filter. Things that happen in one layer of reality has the potential to affect things on other layers of reality, and being able to discern this becomes important. When someone dies in the virtual world, they often lose the ability to return to their physical bodies. The reverse is also true, and a physical body destroyed can potentially erase the virtual avatar of the deceased. Without the intervention of the Cyberchurch, gaining extra lives in either world are a boon never granted to the unworthy. Conversion always starts the same, no matter the reality being enlightened, and preparations for Armageddon are made well in advance of any apocalypse. Even before the invasion of Core Earth, blind prophets of the Holy Word began appearing on the planet, preaching of the coming doomsday and warning people to repent their sinful ways. When the day of judgment comes, the heathens who would not atone for their vile ways are dragged to hell by the demonic lords from damnation to be punished for their crimes against the Lord. Sometimes the infernals are real, unleashed by the Inquisition to terrorize and chastise the unholy and unworthy. Other times, the fiends of the pit are no more than projections whose artificial presence is no less threatening than the magical incarnations. In either case, the response is the same as the Cyberchurch inevitably intervenes and sends out the holy envoys to eliminate the threat of the hellspawn, but not before any sort of opposition to the Cyberchurch is eliminated. Government officials, military commanders, and ministries of unacceptable gospels are the first to be held accountable for their sinful lives. Alongside the appointees of the Cyberchurch's clergy, the church police assist and protect the various bishops and cardinals in their rituals and battles against the wicked, or their conversions and baptisms of the righteous. Furthermore, the addition of projected heavenly aid is also displayed for witnesses to marvel, as angelics and saints known as the hosts are called upon to combat the more stubborn transgressors. These artificial intelligences are often sentient programs or magical entities rather than the beings of spirit they copy. Trumpets and harps resound with triumph as these heavenly seraphs sing the praises of the Cyberpope and glorify his almighty crusade. The presence of the Tharkuldu during the current invasion only reinforced the Cyberpapacy's deception as an opponent of the other High Lords. The devastation that resulted in the Russian retaliation only made the citizens of Western Europe more grateful for the Cyberpapacy's aid and assistance in preventing a cataclysm comparable to the destruction of the other invaders. Encompassing most of France and Spain, while also infiltrating the borders of Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Italy, and Portugal, it was the city of Avignon that became the seat of the Cyberchurch's power, reflecting their cosm's capital on Magna Verita that resides in the same parallel location there as it does on Core Earth. When the heavenly light descended from the sky, revealing the white alabaster stairway to heaven, Earth's new saviors offered the masses blessings of augmentation and salvation to anyone willing to accept admittance into the awe-inspiring grace and forgiveness of the Cyberchurch. As the congregation of faithful grows, the realm gets rewritten and reconstructed to accommodate the advanced requirements of the Godnet's integration. Cities have been revitalized to the latest achievements of quality and control, and automation has improved the standard of living for every civilian. There is no poverty or homelessness, no illness goes untreated, and there is no starvation or suffering of any kind in this utopian society. As soon as the reality storms form, every piece of electronics begins downloading configuration software from the Godnet. Appliances, machines, gadgets, and tools that are not advanced enough to integrate with the incoming upgrades are instantly converted into the most recent production model from God's World Industries. All broadcasting becomes the property of the Cyberchurch, and the prophecies of the Cyberpope begin dominating the airways and informing the new world of the Holy Word. Giant projections of Jean Marlowe preach his precepts in every recipient's native tongue, connecting personally with each individual to add them to the flock of initiates. Once the Cyberpope has defeated the demonic invaders, he offers to take his leave and stop interfering in the liberated territory. By the time the gesture is presented, the infiltrated region has become too dependent on the system to disconnect from it. Converts inevitably ask the Cyberchurch to remain and continue their holy mission, offering to give it the full authority needed to spread the works of God. Once this willful submission to the darkness device begins, enforcement of the holy law becomes martial. The more personable street-level peace officers, adorned in their advanced white armor, are often accompanied by a drone companion as backup. Situations that require stronger enforcement are handled by the more specialized teams of church police clad in their elite black armor emblazoned with gold crosses. These highly trained designates have authority to act as judge, jury, and executioner, and often accompany the Inquisition in their duties. Aside from the more human detachments and enforcement are the automatic systems on constant patrol, assisting wherever they are needed. One of the most common watchdogs are the cyber gargoyles that make sure nothing interferes with the assimilation process. These gargoyles are distributed to observe and record everything that transpires within the realm and to protect it if necessary. These artificial constructs are merciless and deadly and are programmed as a failsafe to guard the Godnet from interference from the physical world. The safety and serenity of the Cyberpapacy is a calm and relaxing environment wherein being comfortable and content is a top priority for the Cyberchurch. The Cyberpope is generous and charitable, and his mercy is to be commended. Jean Malraux provides for his dedicated followers, and one not need fear any harm coming to their physical bodies if one should ever become too overindulged in the Godnet. Missionaries and deacons are on every corner to lend aid in escorting individuals to the many cathedrals or one of the convent safe houses that care for those more engrossed in the virtual experience. The true power of the Cyberchurch resides in the darkness devices settings of the cosm's axiom advancements to levels that best control the population without giving them too much individual freedom. There is speculation by outside observers that these paradigms could be artificial, but the truth is that progression along these precepts has been stifled through the imposed religious echelons of the Cyberchurch. The social structure of the Cyberpapacy is intentionally prevented from evolving beyond its current moderate alignment, and that is exactly where the Holy Order would like it to remain. The higher reasoning and understanding of the various political systems allows the deduction that human governance is tyrannical and destructive, and it weakens the desire to practice them. This allows the Cyberchurch to lead by example through its divine leadership, thus preventing the axiom from reaching a level that tolerates too much diversity. It is through this arrangement, and not through spiritual fulfillment, that the Cyberpapacy enforces dedication to one religion without tolerance for any other mythos. This societal confinement intentionally suppresses the saintly capacities of this reality, keeping the capabilities of miracles and other ethereal forces within the reach of corporeal beings without the interference of the faithful manifesting any celestial entities. It would not be in the best interests of the darkness device to have altruistic individuals attracting the attention of actual supreme presences to contend with. One only needs to look at cosms such as Isle and Terra for evidence of the uncontrollable chaos such elevated philosophies bring when various gods begin materializing and seeking attention. Miracles are a powerful tool in the hands of the faithful, and evidence of the Cyberpope's power is provided to the inhabitants within the Cyberpapacy through this medium. Often projected as an achievement of exalted doctrine, the delicate balance between social order and spiritual dedication is actually held in check as a means to contain individuals and confine them to the established precepts. Although magic is just as powerful within the Cyberpapacy as it is in the Nile Empire's reality, it is considered just as heretical and forbidden within its borders as it is in Tharkor. Spells and other methods of hocus pocus are activated and powered somewhat effectively within this reality, but it can be dangerous to draw too much attention to oneself when manipulating it. The Cyberchurch has absolute authority over the practices of the enchanted arts and will discipline any practitioner of these schools of wizardry and witchcraft through specialized inquisitions that manifest in a variety of forms. Capture and imprisonment of these zealots is preferable to the alternative though, as the other tool used to limit and control the cosmos' magical parameters are the demons of the abyss. Although these devils of the underworld are similar to the allies of the Russians, they lack the cybernetic advancements widely distributed among the techno-demons. In the Cyberpapacy, high-grade technology is forbidden among infertile beings, for it is only holy souls that are blessed with the life-enhancing endowments of cybernetics and transhumanism. The reality of Magna Verita is currently the most technologically advanced cosm to arrive on core Earth, and their achievements are beyond impressive. Any technical item of a similar function produced anywhere else is just a crude imitation generations obsolete from the Cyberpapacy's evolution. Post-humanism and extended consciousness are considered minor breakthroughs to the inhabitants of this universe, while artificial life and intelligence is so advanced in the Cyberpapacy that they are nearly indistinguishable from natural organics. These synthetics can do far more than a limited body of flesh can achieve, and many citizens obtain a replica unit to interact with the physical world alongside their virtual interdependence. There are even rumors that some of the first converts of Magna Verita lost their bodies to age years ago and reside within completely fabricated vessels or biologically re-engineered clones of their former selves. Robotic development encompasses more than just replicants and androids, as automation has manufactured an astonishing variety of contraptions that render any other world's mechanization look obsolete. Self-replicating nanotechnology can reconstruct most environments into whatever functions are needed to best support the Godnet. Entire areas can be transformed in minutes as these units rapidly recode an area at the atomic level. Technical expansion has given the Cyberpapacy unparalleled development when it comes to scientific enrichment and are the envy of any realm that seeks advancements of the sciences. Engineering improvements have been magnified beyond core Earth's capabilities in every spectrum of research, from superconductivity to automated personal VTOL units, including wireless power transmission. Mass-distributed renewable clean energy of all types powers the grid of the Godnet, and everything connected to it supports and reinforces the entire network. If any segment were for some reason to lose their connection, safety measures and backups are instantly allocated to correct any errors. Without the adaptability of the realm's free energy, personal fusion cores need to be recharged independently and off the grid, which can attract attention as the system constantly scans for power usage. The efforts to limit and suppress the advancement of the social, spiritual, and magical axioms while progressing along the technical tenets are encoded into the cosmos configuration to work in conjunction with the world laws that have been ciphered into the reality. It is the law of the one true way that ensures that the will of the Cyberchurch is the only ideology of merit within their corner of the Infiniverse, in an effort to keep the other denominations from disrupting the spiritual balance of this universe. Spiritual ascension through cyber systems, augmentation, and integration into the Godnet is considered the purest method of transcendence by the inhabitants of the Cyberpapacy, and no other doctrine is considered enlightened among these faithful fanatics. Although the capability for miraculous invocations exists within the Cyberpapacy, all other faiths beside the Cyberchurch are considered a contradiction within the reality. The threat of disconnecting from one's convictions is much greater within the Cyberpope's domain than any other known realm. To validate any other theology's communion with divine interaction is to be targeted for conversion therapy, which attracts the attention of the Inquisition just as fervently as spellcasting does. The law of heretical magic has been hard-coded to purge the realm of anyone who practices the mythical arts in any form. Jean Malraux is convinced that mysticism is an implement of the devil and prohibits anyone other than the Inquisition to utilize it. This is only accentuated through the appearance of the Infernals, who discipline these heretics of the cursed occult whenever someone is foolish enough to reveal their corruption. The dangers of violating this law are further reinforced by the consequences of feedback that occurs whenever complications arise in casting a spell. The damage inflicted from any magical mishap in the Cyberpapacy is far greater than anywhere else, as the reality pushes back against the violator for attempting to betray the system. Having a singular dominant faith as the authority of the reality while demonizing practitioners of the so-called diabolism, the law of suspicion cloaks the realm in a shadow of paranoia and mistrust. Anything not conforming to the instituted parameters is met with wariness and concern, and anyone not fitting in is immediately reported to the proper authorities. This totalitarianism is enforced through every means possible in order to protect the reality from anything that might influence an alteration in the established order. To be a storm knight from the Cyberpapacy is to be an exile and a heretic. Individuals are a threat to the collective machine and a virus to be eliminated. Castaways and rejects can be found among both the transformed and their brethren from Magna Verida who have managed to free themselves from the brainwashing of the cult of personality. The rewrite of reality during transformation reprograms individuals into anomalies of all sorts, and a lucky few manage to escape the alluring call of the hive mind and hold on to their individuality. These insurgents often form cells of resistance, using guerrilla tactics to halt the cosmos' expansion and influence, or safely unplug others wishing to break free of the coma-inducing effects of the Godnet. Most of these freedom fighters understand the extraordinarily enticing intoxication that the Cyberpapacy induces upon its followers and avoid killing these innocent mindless drones whenever possible. Avoiding erasure or deletion requires disconnection from the Godnet, where it can be avoided, cloaking or masking one's signature if it can't. Leaving digital footprints behind is also a concern, as the continuous scans of databases search for any signs of infiltration or access. Traveling the pathways of the neural net independently requires wit and reflexes in this fast-paced terrain where nanoseconds count. Pre-jacks and choppers are the most notorious groups of heathens who often work side by side for the best results. Hackers have learned the ways of papal code, searching for backdoors and reliquaries while mining the Godnet to free whatever information is kept from the masses. Chop shops disconnect hardware from its network interdependence so that cyborgs can operate their upgrades without having to connect to the Cyberchurch. These augmented individuals do their best to use the Cosm's technological advantages as a means to uncover the Cyberchurch's true motives behind its religious endowments. Outlawed and anathema are anyone who delves into the mystic arts. These pariahs are harbingers of pain and punishment if caught violating the abolishment of magic. Even if one is willing to risk the manifestation of the demonic tormentors, they still face the persecution of the Inquisition if discovered. It is best to keep one's abilities coincidental and unnoticeable, as any vulgar displays are sure to draw immediate attention to one's communion with evil. Even more dangerous is to combine the forces of magic and technology and practice cyber magic. Psylocks, cyber witches, and technomages are a bane to the Godnet, and mastery over this unification of axioms is an abomination of animosity in the Cyberpapacy. It's not just the mechanically and mystically enhanced who are able to resist the Cyberchurch's holy embrace, but also the practitioners of creeds that counter the Cyberpope's interpretations of Christianity and Catholicism. Although the Cyberchurch is considered the only accepted dogma, other theologies still manage to mingle in and out of the cosm as long as they don't contradict the Cyberchurch's scripture. Enlightened individuals of any faith, from healers to paladins, have the ability to manipulate a variety of phenomenal wonders within the confines of the Cyberpapacy. As long as it is not considered obscene to the accepted doctrine, then divine interaction from other beliefs can be granted below the radar of the ever-present monitoring of the Godnet. No matter your configuration or enhancements, you have decided to free yourself from the collective and act as an individual unit. With your power and abilities, you have the capability to free others from their entombment and dismantle the system draining the life and possibilities from its captivated audience. It will take plenty of courage and immense willpower to expose the true motives of the Cyberpapacy so that you can find out for yourself if what you are experiencing right now isn't just another simulation.